Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open 1,000 years after the Earth was colonized by alien invaders. 9-foot-tall leather-clad dreadlocks with a sixth finger on their right hand that doesn't bend or do anything special. They came to extract all of our gold and teleport it back to their home planet of Cyclo, where it's much more valuable. It's given a purple filter to show a difference in atmosphere, which is why they live in a large dome over what used to be Denver. Head of security Terl wants nothing more than to get off this planet because they need to stick rebreathers up their nostrils just to leave the dome. 1,000 years ago humans put up a measly 9-minute fight against the alien invasion, and now only a few remain in hiding or enslaved as gold miners. Our story follows a caveman named Jonnie Goodboy who returns home like the man from Snowy River after gathering some herbs. Turns out he won't be needing it, as his girlfriend Chrissy says his father passed away during the night and some basil won't cut it. We learn from the tribe's elder Parson staffer, who got his name because of how he slings that thing around, that this tribe think the aliens are demons from hell, but none of them have actually seen the creatures with their own eyes.
Only if you believe it.
Because of this, Jonnie Braveboy decides to ditch his girlfriend and venture out into the wasteland looking for answers. When his horse throws him off, Jonnie grabs what he thinks is a stick to fight the demon, but it's a golf club and he's battling carbon fiber. Jonnie discovers his first remnants of the 20th century, which is in surprisingly good condition after 1,000 years. Carlo and his friend Rock agree, and after a bit of a standoff they accept a trade of dead rabbit in exchange for taking Jonnie to the gods. They bring him to a ruined city and claim that the statues were once living beings that were turned into stone but no touchy. Carlo claims they drove chariots up to golden arches where food would appear, which is a fancy way of saying McDonald's drive-thru. They take shelter for the night in a shopping mall cave, and I don't care how dumb you are, you shouldn't be walking into glass this dirty. As they eat some rabbit and Rock asks for Chrissy's location since she's probably lonely, as Cyclo arrives and shoots Carlo halfway across the mall. He then chases the other two, missing every shot he takes, while somehow Rock keeps up with Jonnie Fastboy, who's moving like the wind. When he drifts behind, the big guy tries to catch up by leaping off a balcony, but he breaks his leg because gravity. Lucky for the Cyclo, because he never would have caught up moving at this speed, and kills Rock while just stunning Jonnie's horse. He then shoots our good boy with one of those crazy impact rounds that sends him face first through about 10 glass panes. The aliens stick him and Carlos inside a cage and take them back to Denver on a battlecraft with jump jet rotating engines and pivoting butterfly wings. Arriving at the human processing center, the slaves are fitted with oxygen snorters when our boys see this as their time to get away. Carlo is immediately stunned, shot in the back, but Jonnie gets his hands on a cyclo blaster and offs him one alien slaver. Making his escape, every one of the guards just stand around shocked that this man-animal killed one of them, until running into Terl. He carries Jonnie Caughtboy back to the processors and can't believe his ears that this little guy is capable of such a feat. He gives Jonnie a guard's blaster to prove it, so the human collects his second alien body, much to the enjoyment of the others. While he's here, Jonnie causes the Cyclos constant problems and delays operations, but he's the main character so they can't just kill him. One day the manager Zete warps to Earth and complains about everything from the blue sky to the green trees, so you know he's legit. We also meet Terl's assistant Kerr, who says that the humans also taste disgusting, which was going to be Zete's next question. He says that Terl's assignment on Earth has been increased by another 50 years for giving the governor's daughter the Dutch angle. Terl insists that he had no clue who the woman was, but swallows his pride and just conspires behind the management's back instead. This Cyclo was trained since birth to conquer galaxies, and instead he's here drinking green beer by the hugfuls while Kerr struggles to keep up. At the zoo where the humans are kept, we get some trouble between Good Boy and some bad boy named Floyd, who doesn't want to share the food. He jumps Jonnie from behind, but our protagonist is just too damn tough and sticks Floyd's head in the food trough. Of course, this brings all the slaves together under Good Boy's leadership as he shares around the disgusting looking protein paste. Meanwhile, Kerr is plotting to mine a secret gold vein when his boss retires, but Terl's onto him because of the not-so-hidden cameras. These two are on the verge of killing each other, but mutually refrain since Terl will be staying with us for a bit longer. He requests from the Planetship Numph to train humans to operate their mining equipment, but the notion is laughed out of the room. Terl ignores them and secretly tapes Kerr laying out their plan to train slave labor as a way to make enough money to bribe officials into leaving this planet. He keeps it as leverage in case Kerr tries to backstab him while outside a battlecraft accidentally knocks over a steeple. A few slaves are crushed while Jonnie uses this chance to escape, but he's quickly captured and the guards have finally had enough of his crap. They take him inside the dome and remove his breathing device, then make bets on how long they think the man-animal will survive. Bets off when Jonnie begins sharing oxygen with another slave, so now they're just chasing him through Denver with their blasters cranked up. Terl sees the cleverest man-animal he's ever seen almost escape, but Jonnie reached a dead end and the ever-walking Cyclos catch up. About to use him for target practice, both aliens drop dead as the human savior turns out to be the traitor Terl. He decides to let Jonnie escape with his friends so that they can find out humans' favorite food and follow them all the way to Aspen. Jonnie catches a Christmas tree rat to share with his friends, making Terl assume it's humans' favorite food and not just something eaten out of necessity. When they begin destroying their button cams, the Cyclo travel to Aspen by way of battlecraft to recapture the man-animals. Approaching a cliff on their way out, Jonnie says he'd rather die than go back and prepares for an impossible leap but is intercepted. They're immediately taken back to Denver and we never see Floyd again because in a deleted scene he was used in an experiment. Kerr wages that man-animal can fly because of Jonnie's attempt, so Terl drops Floyd to his death to prove that he's the smarter alien. The slaves are brought back to Terl's office where they're given the random side quest of completing renovations on the low ceilings. Jonnie Smartboy is chosen to use the Cyclo learning machine to give him the technical know-how to operate the mining equipment. A hologram from an extinct alien race called the Klinko fires information directly into Jonnie's brain, making him the cleverest man-animal in the world. He can now understand the alien language but plays dumb so that Terl will keep him in the machine and he can keep learning. He relays everything back to slaves Sammy and his younger brother Mickey, but they seem stumped by a basic triangle. That doesn't stop them from breaking into the armory to steal a couple of blasters and setting a trap for when the aliens return. It's only when Terl is about to kill Jonnie because he thinks the machine was a failure does he reveal he can speak their language. His first order in Cyclo is basically a carjacking for the keys to their battlecraft, but it turns out that the weapons were all unloaded. About to make an example out of Mickey, he's saved when Jonnie makes a deal that they'll work the mines in peace if he isn't harmed. Terl decides to take Jonnie to the Denver library to prove to him that human intelligence is no match for the Cyclos. He's left to read some book about all men being created equal or something, which inspires Jonnie to not only escape but take back Earth for the humans. The next stop for our slaves is the location that they'll be mining, where Terl blows the leg off a fake cow to demonstrate his accuracy. A tribe of humans emerge from the forest to protect their food source and would kill the Cyclo if it wasn't for Jonnie defending him. He convinces the tribe's leader Robert to answer their call later in order to kill the whole species and not just this one moron. When they've retreated to cover, Jonnie returns the gun and Terl reveals that he captured the girlfriend when she came looking for him. Chrissy has been fitted with an explosive collar to make Goodboy obey, and Terl demonstrates its ability on Sammy by blowing his head off screen. Next, Jonnie is taught to fly the battlecraft in a simulator so that he can transport the mining equipment out to the location. It takes a few tries, but he eventually gets it down while Terl blackmails Numph into letting him borrow the mining equipment. He's had one of his girls sneak him some incriminating footage, so Jonnie is allowed to fly the humans out to the location by himself. Terl has a drone in the sky tracking their progress, but what he doesn't know is that Robbie's tribe pretends to mine the gold while the rest leave. Jonnie flies to Washington, D.C., which is somehow intact after 1,000 years, and they learn everything they need for a plan to take back the planet. Half the tribe are then flown to a fort in Texas where they train an entire squadron of caveman pilots to fly Harrier jets that somehow operate. They take all the weapons, including a nuclear device which Mickey volunteers to deliver through the teleporter to the aliens' homeworld. To keep the Cyclo happy, they travel to the easily accessible Fort Knox and take some of the gold to pass as mining production. Terl moves up the deadline since they had time to smelt it into bars, then hides the gold inside coffins to smuggle back into Cyclo. Jonnie Sneakboy then makes a deal with Kerr to release the slaves in exchange for a recording of Terl explaining the whole plan. He accepts because he doesn't think the slaves are any threat, then confronts Terl with the leverage he needed to take over. Unfortunately, he already knew about his betrayal from the chatty bartender and blows off Kerr's arm before telling him to get back to work. The humans begin their revolt by running around bludgeoning and shooting any aliens they come across. Carlo takes out battlecrafts with a rocket launcher and is saved by the arrival of Robert's fleet of forest-dwelling man-animals. They fly around for a few minutes taking out Cyclos until most are destroyed and pilot Rob is forced to eject before he crashes. Carlo sets up explosives to blow the dome, but it just shatters instead, so he gets in a battlecraft to rupture it from above. He crashes straight into it but only plugs the hole with his vessel and just dangles there above Denver. Fortunately, he has a rocket in his launcher which he probably could have used from ground level and blows the fuel tank, shattering the glass. The change in atmosphere causes everything else to blow up because of science, and the humans push back what aliens still remain. During all of this, Mickey has been waiting on the platform while Jonnie tries to activate it, but is captured by Terl. He activates it himself to bring reinforcements, not realizing that he just doomed his planet when the countdown finishes. Jonnie manages to get free and sticks Chrissy's collar on Terl's arm, but he still thinks he has it as leverage over the human. Trying to kill her before the good boy, he just ends up blowing off his own arm and is now the man-animal's prisoner. Mickey warps back to Cyclo, whose army is met by the lone human who extincts the entire species that killed his brother. The whole planet is blinked out of existence, and the humans celebrate winning back the Earth with an air show. The final scene shows Terl imprisoned in Fort Knox as leverage in case more Cyclos arrive in the future wanting revenge. Chirk gloats to his former boss about being freed because he promised to teach the alien technology to his new man-animal friends. And the movie ends.